सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ सहनावतु सहनो भुनक्तु वीर्यं कर्वावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
हरिः ओम् श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम्। ओम तत्सत्। ओम नमः शिवाय।
Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya.
So last week we completed the first chapter. So before starting the second chapter, we'll just conclude the first chapter in 3 or 4 slides. So at the beginning of the class or course rather, I asked you one question, all of you answered correctly. What do we need in life? What we all want in life? Who can tell me again?
Happiness.
Happiness, very good. We all want to be happy. So in order to be happy, we need 3 things. What are they? I hope you are all going through the recordings and notes. These are basic things one should remember all the time. So first thing we require is security. Second thing is a peace. Then that leads us to happiness. So security, peace and happiness. If you remember and agree, na?
Yes.
Okay. You should be able to tell. So in order to lead a happy and healthy life, we need 2 basic things. We cannot just be, happy and healthy, isn't it? So what are the basic requirements? First, we need to be physically healthy. Okay. We may have any amount of money or comfort or whatever it is. If there is no physical health, what will happen? We cannot be happy. So for physical health, what are the things that are required? We need a clean and hygienic environment. We need proper nourishment, food, water, healthy food, clean water, etc., to nourish us. Also, safety is equally important. If we are not safe, then we may die by accident. So one has to be safe also. Safety is required. Then a clean and hygienic environment along with nutritious food and water, etc. Everyone agrees?
Yes.
Okay. That is physical health. Same importance is given to another health. That is mental health. We may be physically healthy. If you are not mentally healthy, what will happen? We'll throw things at everybody and everything and make the whole house a miserable place, whole working place a miserable place. People do it, na? Even they can manage to spoil the entire party. Social circle also they will spoil because they don't have mental health. If one doesn't have mental health, then whatever amount of physical health one has, it is of no use. All the time the person will be cribbing or getting angry or going into depression or blaming someone, cursing someone, throwing things at someone. Not only his or her life is miserable, they will ensure that others' life also becomes miserable. Because there is no mental health, mentally sick person. What are the signs of a physical illness? Cough, cold, fever, a mild diseases, major disorders, diabetes, then blood pressures. There is some disturbance. Will you kindly mute? Whenever there is a question, kindly unmute and ask. Otherwise, recording will get disturbed. So major disorders, diabetes, type 1, type 2, they say nowadays. Then high blood pressure, low blood pressure. These are disorders. Then diseases, that cancer, tuberculosis. There are so many nowadays. That something called AIDS and whatnot. Some now latest thing is this COVID. So life-threatening diseases. So these are diseases that affect diseases, also disorders. They affect our physical health, and we take proper care not to contract them or to manage them or to avoid them. What is mental disease? Mental disease is first and foremost thing is fear. Everyone has fear. There is no fearless person. Again, there is disturbance. Otherwise, I'll have to mute everyone. You want me to do that? Okay. So second thing is mental disease. What are that first thing, foremost thing is fear. When I say fear, some people say I am fearless. It is just for the sake of saying. There is no one that can be called fearless. Some sort of fear. Fear about the past, fear about the future, fear about the present. Some people are they are afraid of reptiles. Some people are afraid of water. Some people are afraid of fire. Some people are afraid of what we call diseases. No, anything, circumstances, what will happen? What if I lose everything that I have? No, what my husband or wife leaves me, what my children leave me, what if I become lonely in the old age if nobody's there to look after me, what if I lose my savings, what if I don't have proper savings, enough savings to sustain me in the last phase of my life. So many things, fear. That leads us to anxiety. Then there is stress, strain, we worry, then we get angry, then we are jealousy is also there. Jealousy is another thing. We compare ourselves with others. We have a car, very fine, we are happy. The moment neighbor or a relative buys a shiny new car, bigger car, a better model, then jealousy sets in. I'm not saying everybody, but mostly. Okay, then there is inferiority complex. That person is better than me by looks, by wealth, or by house, or by car, whatever it is. That person by education, by uh, character, or by behavior, or by attributes, whatever it is, we compare and one becomes this jealous and subsequently inferiority complex is developed. So in the beginning of the course, we discussed in detail. Our scriptures summarizes, so they summarize these mental diseases in a very simple manner, rather, I would say, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsar. They have put into these 6 major categories. Almost everything will fall into that, fit into that. So these are psychological diseases. So we also saw that in order to be at peace, we need to remove these mental impurities. The layers, what we have to remove, that we studied. How to remove that, that also we studied. So our scriptures not only point out these problems, they also tell us solution and how to achieve them. They also tell the end how to sort out that problem and the method to sort out the problem. Everything is listed out, explained. And Bhagavad Gita is one such Shastra. Okay. Any doubt or question so far?
No.
Okay, good. So these are the categories of problems that we have. Psychological diseases or mental problems, mental disease, psychological disease, psychological disturbance, mental disturbance, whatever name we may call it, but they affect our day-to-day life. Something has happened 10 years back. People think of that, worry about that, or become sorrowful, sad over that. And some people say it will take a lifetime for me to get over that. Everything is affecting us. The past, the present, and the future. Future has not come, it has not happened, but what will happen in future? People imagine all the hypothetical things, imaginary problems, and people suffer and make others suffer. Okay, when we face these kind of problems, both physical as well as mental, what we tend to do normally, we blame the external circumstances. We blame. See, because I was not having my home cooked food, I had to travel. I got this stomach ailment, whatever it is. No, that is why I was staying alone for so many years, eating outside food. So I had got it, this problem. Or my work was so heavy, stressful that I got this ulcer or diabetes or high blood pressure. Normally, we tend to blame the external circumstances for our physical health as well as mental health. Mental problems happen, these physical disturbances happen, psychological disturbances happen. We immediately blame the external world. Because of my husband, I am suffering. Because of my wife, I am suffering. Because of my children, I am suffering. Because of my in-laws, I am suffering. Because of my cousins, I am suffering. Because of my brother or sister or whatever it is. They are the reason, they are the sole reason for my condition. Or some circumstances that happen, sudden grievance at the family, some death, somebody untimely death, or many things happen. Circumstances we tend to blame. We will never blame ourselves. Take responsibility that I am not strong enough to handle that today. My body was not strong enough. I had not developed that kind of immunity that I could ward off this disease. I couldn't ward off. I had to contract that disease. Or I did not follow a strict regimen. of exercise and food habits that I failed to lead a healthy life, so I contracted this disease. That nobody will accept. Very few will accept, but normally we tend to blame the job, blame the friends, blame the relatives. Because of that, I got this. Okay, it is a very normal human behavior. So, what our Shastram, scriptures tell us that, okay, just like our physical health, not only external circumstances are responsible, we are also partially, if not fully, responsible for that. Because we have not maintained certain standards, certain practices, we have not followed certain precautions that we have contracted that disease, or we have acquired that disorder. Similarly, mental disturbance, mental health also, okay, the external world is not entirely responsible. Yes, the world must be responsible to some extent because we are living in that environment. We are living in a world, we are living in a society, we are living in a particular environment. So we cannot totally discard that, no, that external environment is not responsible. It also is responsible, but major responsibility lies within me. My mental problem is mostly because I am unable to handle that. I have not developed adequate mental strength, mental resistance to face this situation. We have discussed that in the beginning of the course, that nothing in life is permanent. Everything is temporary and everything is subject to loss. One day we are all going to lose that. Our name, our fame, our health, our whatever it is. Everything is subject to loss. Okay, near and dear ones will die one day, or we will die early, and they will have to face that. So we know that these things will happen, but what happens? What happens to us? We close our eyes and we are blind to the fact that whatever problem happens, it happens to others, not to me. Death happens somewhere else, not in my family. So when it comes, then the person is unable to handle that. So before proceeding, let me ask you, does death cause sorrow?
Only to the survivors.
Yes, it does.
It does.
Ah,
So you know the problems that are going on in Middle East, that West Asia?
yes, yes.
Yes. So thousands of people died in horrible circumstances, unimaginable conditions, painful conditions. How many times you cried, or how many times you did not eat, or how many times did you not sleep because of sorrow? Don't take it personally. I'm just,
Mm.
Yeah, we are all
It
continuing
feels,
with our lives. Yeah.
we feel
it feels
sad.
bad, but only for a moment.
We feel sad. We feel sad, but we don't cry over it. We don't lose sleep over it. What is the reason?
They are not attached.
We are
Yeah.
not attached. There is no attachment to that. It has not happened to our near and dear ones, someone whom we can identify, attach. It is happening. Yes, fellow human being, it is very painful. It causes, very much pain and sorrow to her. But it is only for a fleeting moment, passing moment. We get on with our life, then we watch Netflix, cricket match, and enjoy food, and we get on. Sometimes we watch TV where people are dying and eating. It happens. Nothing to blame. But this is a reality of life. When there is no attachment, then there is no sorrow. Remember 3 things. What are they? Raga,
Kama, moha,
Raga,
moha,
Shoka, and Moha,
moha.
which Arjuna is facing. The essence of first chapter is what? Attachment, which leads to sorrow and which leads to delusion. Okay.
Okay.
So, just like physical environment is not totally responsible for our physical illness. Okay. Because we know everybody is vulnerable to certain diseases. Some people, we live in the same house. Some people catch cold, some people don't catch cold. Some people eat ice cream even in winters, nothing happens to them. Some people eat ice cream, immediately they catch cold. So our body is susceptible or vulnerable to diseases and disorders. That we can, sometimes they say it is genetic. Because of genetics you got, because your grandparents had this, you got it. We do not know, but we know that our body is vulnerable to diseases and disorders. So that is sometimes healthy people also get diabetes. We do not know. Okay. That vulnerability is there, susceptibility is there, weakness is there. That world should accept. Certain amount, certain conditions are responsible for these things, not completely external. So, what our Shastram teaches us, scriptures tell us that the mind or the weakness of mind is also responsible for our psychological, mental disturbances. Just like the physical illness, our body is also responsible to some extent. Mind is responsible for these mental problems. Okay. In order to lead a healthy physical life, we take care of the environment, we take care of the food that we eat, the place we live, clean, hygiene, everything we try to manage. Similarly, in order to lead a mentally healthy life, a happy life, a contented life, what we should consider? We should not only take account in the environment that we live in. As I told you, environment is responsible. We cannot just deny that because we are living in that. But what about the resistance? What about my mental strength? That one has to consider. One has to consider. Am I prepared? Am I having adequate mental strength to handle these problems? Problems are going to come. There will be no dearth of problems. That karma or Ishvara will ensure that we get adequate problems. But are we prepared? Have we developed that mental resistance? Otherwise, what is the use of a civilized, a cultured, a matured person and an uneducated, uncultured, uncivilized person? There is no difference. Scriptures teach us to become that person who has adequate mental strength to withstand, to tackle all these mental disturbances. So, what is the sign of healthy body? There is no disease or less illness. The frequency of illness is less. Sometimes rarely it happens. I hardly catch a cold here. Once I don't even remember when I got fever last time. Sometimes we say, isn't it? So that kind of healthy body is there. So what is a sign of a healthy mind? That how much we get disturbed. Morning we are all getting ready. In the breakfast table, somebody spills, children or wife or husband, they spill coffee on our shirt. What happens? Two things can happen. Okay, it has happened. I'll just go and change my shirt and come back. It can happen. Another thing, start cursing. You people don't have any attention. You are doing just for the sake of doing. There is no focus. They all blah 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 blah, and everybody moods get spoiled. Some people becomes extinct. They pick up the cup and throw it and break it, and just start throwing plates around and just start yelling. The whole atmosphere gets spoiled. No, anything can happen. What kind of mental disturbance happens? That is a sign of a healthy mind. The frequency, if the frequency is less, like illness, physical illness, if the frequency is less, if somebody catches cold or somebody gets fever, somebody falls ill once in a blue moon, once in 6 months or year, we don't call that person unhealthy, isn't it? It can happen to anybody. Similarly, a person may get angry once in a while, and that anger will last for some time. Okay, we don't call that person mentally disturbed. When the problems become severe, okay, when the frequency becomes more and more, somebody will get angry at the drop of a hat. For each and everything they will shout. No, there is anger. They create fear. They create anxiety in the minds of others. Okay, these are the signs of an unhealthy mind. So in order to be physically happy, physically fit, what we need? Fitness. We say, we have to be fit. Everybody goes to gym or practice yoga or practice so many things nowadays. That yoga, this yoga, aerobic exercises, and some people just go for a walk, some people go for a jog, some people run, some people join gym, some people swim, anything. We want to be fit. We want to be fit, what? Physically. And in the same manner, we have to be fit mentally also. So what is this fitness? Fit is a frequency, intensity, and time. Time taken for recovery. This fit. So we have to be fit both physically and mentally. And what is this fit? Frequency, intensity, and time. How frequent we get fear, how frequent we get angry, how frequent we get jealous, okay, how frequent we get anxious, how frequent we get panicky. then what is the intensity of that fear or anger or jealousy or anxiety? How much intensity, the degree, the level, and how much time it takes for recovery? Do we get angry for a few seconds and just forget it and get on with it? And after 5 minutes, I call that person whom I got angry, come, we'll have a cup of coffee or tea. Let us discuss this. Then crack a joke and you just forget it. What is the time duration? And what is the intensity of that anger? So let us say first we'll take anger. It is a very common thing. Everybody gets angry. How frequent we get angry? What is the intensity of that anger? Morning example I gave, a cup of coffee was spilled, tea or coffee, whatever it is. Then whether we just get up and change the shirt, or we throw the cup at the wife or husband, whatever it is, children, break plates, or storm out of the house without eating breakfast. It is the intensity. And what is the time to recover? Are you going to be angry for that 5-10 minutes just till you get out of the house? Or are you going to be angry the whole day and nights? Or are you going to be angry the next day also and sit in the table and say, don't spill the coffee like yesterday and spoil my mood? In the process, what happened? We have spoiled the mood today also. So what is that duration? That is time duration, recovery, the time taken for recovery, frequency, intensity, and time duration. Okay. So any questions so far? I think you're
No.
muted. No questions. Okay, good. You all understood. Now, there is a quote or saying in our scriptures, Uttame kshana kopasya madhyame ghatikat vayam adameshyat ahoratram papiste marana daka. Anger happens. Everybody gets angry. Even we study in scriptures that Puranas, that Rishi Munis also, Jnanis also get angry. Okay. It happens even to a normal, healthy person also, it happens. But in a normal person, a healthy person, the anger lasts for a moment, few seconds or few minutes. And the person will recover and forget about it. So in the breakfast table example, we'll just say, that be more careful in future. In the morning, the time is less. Children have to you have to go there and drop them in the school. I have to go to office. See, unnecessarily these things. Be careful in future. For some time you get angry, then you get on with it. Give me another toast or another dosa or another paratha. Now life becomes normal. Everybody becomes normal and there is no disturbance. That happens to a normal, healthy person. It lasts for a few minutes or few seconds. In a moderate person, medium, it lasts for about 60 to 90 minutes. And the person stops talking, goes to the room and changes the dress and goes out of the house without eating the breakfast. But after reaching the house, the office or wherever it is, the person calls, says, I'm sorry, I was a little upset. I had some urgent scheduled meeting in the office. So it disturbed me. So I didn't have breakfast. I'm sorry for that. Okay. Now it's all right. Did you have breakfast? Problem is sorted out. 90 minutes, 1 hour, 1.5 hours. For a person who is extreme, what happens? The whole day, the person has that anger, takes out on everybody at the office, and comes home in the evening and starts shouting, morning you spoiled me, that beginning was bad, and the whole day became mess. Because of you, I suffered. I don't want dinner also, you eat. I will skip my dinner. No, spoil the mood. And whole night also the person is happy. Till next day. It happens to an extreme person. But for a papi, a mahapapi, for a chandala, some people call it chandala, papi, the anger lasts for a lifetime. Here, we cannot give the example of coffee, but something happened, somebody scolded or somebody said bad words, hurtful words, some 20 years back, they will recall and they get angry as if it was said just a few seconds back. And they will say that I will never forget in my life. It will take whole life for me to get over that. I will never forgive that person. Not in this birth, not in this janam. It happens. That kind of people are called sinners, papi. Till death, that anger will not go away. These are the people who commit heinous acts like murders, etc. Out of enmity, out of anger, they take out the anger. Okay? And what is this freedom? What is this liberation? What is this moksha that we call? Moksha is not something that we die, we fly somewhere and we get into this thing. It is not that liberation. Liberation is this freedom from mental disturbances, freedom from psychological problems, freedom from the psychological diseases, okay, that are caused by external people and external circumstances. That is moksha. When we develop adequate maturity, by maturity, I mean the mental strength, mental ability to tackle that, to withstand that, to manage that, then that becomes moksha. Then you become a liberated person while living. No external circumstances can disturb you much. I am not saying it will not disturb. It will disturb. Death happens, it will disturb. Something bad happens, it will disturb. Loss happens in business, it will disturb. Okay, we fall ill, it will disturb. But we have to remember that frequency, intensity, and the recovery time. How much that can be measured. For example, if you want to measure your fitness, what do? You switch on your watch and say how much time I slept, how much time I slept on the left shoulder and how much time slept on the right shoulder, how much time I was in deep sleep, a rapid eye movement, what we call nowadays REM. And there are so many things, graph comes, data comes. But what about our mental health? How do we measure that? So in order to measure that, if any of you are interested, then you can maintain a very closed diary or a Excel sheet with a password protection and note down from morning to night, how many times I got angry and what is the intensity of my anger and how much time it took me to recover from that anger. How many times I got jealous today? How many times I got anxiety today? How many times I got fear today? How many times I started worrying? Just an example I'm giving. These things can be measured. If you want to just measure the mental health, there are methods that scriptures point out that. So whether we want to be Uttama person or Madhyama person or Athamesya person, or want to be a sinner, poppy, carry the grudge throughout the life and suffer and make others also suffer. So if you are a liberated person, then you are a free person. That is why we see jnanis, we see saints, we see sadhus. They are always at peace. Nothing disturbs them. They have always this smile on their face. They are very compassionate. They are very kind, very composed, at peace with themselves, at peace with the world. So that person becomes a jnani. A person while living has attained that moksha, a liberated person. That doesn't mean that person will not face old age. That person is not having psychological disturbances. Everything is there because they are also living in the same world. So I cannot say I live in Delhi and you will be feeling cold, I will be feeling hot. It is not possible. Temperature is 40 degrees, it is 40 degrees for everybody. Everybody has to sweat, everybody has to suffer. But how much it affects, the temperature affects us, depends on person to person. Okay. The resistance that we develop, that help us to manage, to face, to tackle, to withstand the problems. That level of strength, the more the strength, the less the disturbance. Some people don't have mental strength at all, so fragile. Something happens at home, they are shattered. They go into depression, anxiety, and because of them, whole family suffers. Some death happens, spouse dies. It happens. One day everybody has to die, and both husband and wife cannot die together. Somebody has to go early. Then one is unable to accept that and get into depression and suffering. We are not blaming anyone here. We are only trying to tell us there are methods, there are ways to develop mental strength and lead a normal life. What is the point in living suffering? What is the point? Whatever has happened, glass is broken, it is broken. Milk has been spilled, it has been spilled. Death happened, death happened. Nothing happened. We cannot undo it. But we can design our future, how we are going to live and how we make others live, people who are near and dear ones, because our disturbance affects our near and dear ones also. Not only near and dear ones, even in the people who are associated with us in the workplace, it affects them. If you are a boss and if you're in a foul mood whole day, the whole office is scared of you and they also suffer. They will all work in fear. They will all work in anxiety, commit mistakes. There will be hushed murmurs. Nobody will talk. Nobody will smile. Nobody will crack a joke. So everything affects. So that is in our hands. How much this mental strength that we develop or that we are going to develop, that is in our hands and that is within our powers. That is what scriptures teaches. We are not studying Bhagavad Gita just to boast that I have studied Bhagavad Gita, or we are not just here to say that one of the Shastram's major Prasthanatrayam I have completed. No, it has to be put into practical use. If it doesn't help you in your practical day-to-day life, what is the use? Like going to a gym. It doesn't help you to stay fit, healthy. Will you go to a gym, spend money, time, travel? No, we will not. Similarly, scriptures show us the way. First, they show what is the problem, the samsara problem. Then they say how to cross over that problem and achieve that final end. So, just we conclude the first chapter because Arjuna is facing this problem. He is suffering. He has not developed mental resistance. So first he got into this raga, attachment, and which led to shoka, sorrow, and which led to moha, delusion. And finally he said, I cannot fight.
So, Acharya ji, even a person as accomplished as Arjuna can be affected by
No,
these things.
Arjuna is not accomplished. He has just started.
Oh, okay.
This is the first chapter we are in. From second chapter to 18th chapter, Krishna Bhagavan is going to teach him. Gita Padesh is all that only. Now only the problem has happened.
Okay.
He is not an accomplished person.
Right.
He is like us, like any one of us, suffering. Now the duty of a teacher, duty of acharya, duty of his friend, Bhagavan, Krishna is going to teach him. That is called Gita Padesam. That is what all about Gita, Bhagavad Gita. So Bhagavad Gita teaches us to develop inner resistance and not change the external world. So Bhagavan Sri Krishna is going to teach Arjuna that all the problems are because of your mental condition. You are not matured enough. You have not developed that mental strength. So you are blaming the external world. So the teaching will start from the second chapter from 11th verse. So before going into that second chapter, I thought we should discuss. So let us say it is not only the problem of Arjuna, it is the problem of humankind. It is not the problem that happened 5,000, 7,000, 10,000 years ago. It is a problem that is happening now also. And the problem will happen in future also. As long as this creation is there, the problem will continue. That is why after thousands of years, Bhagavad Gita has a relevance even today. This is one book, one scripture that has been translated into innumerable languages. And it has adorned all the libraries of all major personalities. You take any major scientist or a philosopher or anybody, because it holds relevance. It held relevance at the time of Arjuna. It holds relevance today, and it will hold relevance in future also. It is not a problem confined to Kurukshetra. It is not a problem confined to Mahabharata. It is not a problem confined to Arjuna. It is applicable to the human beings, irrespective of time. Okay. So with this, we have concluded the first chapter. We will start the second chapter. Before that, we'll take a break for a few seconds or minutes and open to questions.
Acharya ji, one question. So, if there are people where around whom we get some anxiety, like even people who are could be our own relatives. So what, like, should we just avoid, like, is avoiding the best way to, not feel that anxiety?
No, avoiding is not a solution at all. That even our normal psychologist, psychiatrist tell us. You had take the problem head on. Avoiding how much time we can avoid. We cannot cross over the desert by going around it. We have to cross over it. But what we have to do? We have to develop that inner resistance. We have to develop that inner, because we cannot change the external world. We cannot change the relatives' mindset or relative circumstances or what is happening to us. That we don't have any powers. What will happen next moment, we do not know. External world, external circumstances, we should never try to change or try to avoid. There is no point, because we are going to avoid. If it is distant relative, yes, you may avoid. But what happens to close relatives?
Mm.
It is not possible. And that will create another problem. So avoiding, I wouldn't say, don't get into unnecessary problem, take everybody's problem, your problem. That is also not advisable. So certain problems which we should avoid, but that it is contextual. We cannot just generalize what is our problem and what is not our problem, and what we can be avoided, what cannot be avoided. That all in a case to case basis only can be done. So we cannot generalize anything there. So Kyati wants to ask some question.
Yeah, नमस्ते आचार्य जी, मैं ख्याति का पिताजी बोल रहा हूँ।
Yes.
ख्याति के नाम से मैंने लॉगिन करता हूँ मैं।
अभी जानता हूँ, हाँ जी।
So my question was कि during the whole 1 lakh shloka in Mahabharata, I mean, it is written that Krishna Uvacha. During these 700 shlokas only, during Gita, when it was recited, Vyasa has mentioned that it is Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. But when at the end of each chapter, when we are reciting, so why it is written Krishna Arjuna Samvade? Why there is no Bhagavan Arjuna Samvade? Why it is not written like that?
No need to mention Bhagavan every time. Krishna is Krishna. Krishna is Bhagavan only. And there is a meter, chandas. When they compose a verse or mantra, this thing, what happens? There is a meter that they have to follow. Okay. Anustuk Chanda, I told you. Trishtuk Chanda, I told you. That is one of the reasons many names are used many times in the verses, shlokas. Sometimes 2 names are used for the same person. Kaunteya, Prita. 2 names only. Bhagavan is addressing Arjuna, but he is calling by 2 names. One is Kaunteya and another is Prita Partha. So what is the reason? Because that meter has to be completed. Okay, chandas, the length, the rhyme, everything has to be done. So the 100,000 verses are in that kind of meter. The rules have to be followed. Okay, so not necessary every time they have to mention Krishna, Bhagavan Krishna. Okay. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So where we entered the first chapter. So last Sanjaya said that having spoken in this manner in the middle of the battlefield, putting aside his bow and arrows, his mind completely overcome by sorrow, Arjuna sat down on the seat of the chariot. Okay. So Arjuna, Sanjaya concludes to whom? Dhritarashtra, that now he is completely helpless, he is completely overcome by sorrow and delusion, and he dropped his Gandiva, bow and arrow, and sat down, refusing to fight. I cannot fight. I'm feeling feverish. I am helpless. So with this, first chapter was completed. Arjuna dropped his bow and arrow. He sat down in the on the seat of the chariot and opened his laptop and started his FB, Instagram, Twitter, whatever it is, and started sending messages to everybody that I am not going to fight. This was the closing verse. Any doubt?
No, Acharya ji.
Oh, then we have time about 2 minutes. We'll start with the second chapter, first verse. Please unmute yourself. Sanjaya Uvacha. Tantata kripayavishtam. Ashrupurnakulekshanam. Vishidantamidam bhakyam. Uvacha madhusudanaha. Okay, I did a mistake. Whenever we commence a new chapter, we say Ata we use, and the name of the chapter also we use. Okay, that I have not done that. We start that Ata Pratamo Dhyaya hai, Arjuna Vishada Yoga hai. Okay, so here I have forgotten that, but from next chapter we will do that. So this chapter is known as Sankhya Yoga. Sankhya Yoga. What is the name of the first chapter? Arjuna. So Sankhya means knowledge, wisdom. So the second chapter starts straight away with knowledge. Because first chapter was full of problems. So now the solution is given by Bhagwan, and it is nothing but knowledge, wisdom. So Sankhya means there is a Sankhya philosophy propounded by Kapila Muni. We should not confuse that Sankhya and with this. The Sankhya is different darshana. Okay, along with Yoga Darshana. There are 6 darshanas. I hope many of you must be aware of that. Okay, Uttar Mimamsa, Purva Mimamsa, Yoga Darshana, Sankhya Darshana, and another 2. What are they? Who can tell me?
Nyaya Vaisheshika.
Nyaya Darshana or Vaisheshika. Very good. Okay, so that Sankhya Darshana is different. One should not get confused. Many teachers, acharyas, even in international groups I see, they start explaining Sankhya Darshana while commencing the second chapter. I don't know whether it is ignorance or I don't know. So let us not get confused. Sankhya Darshana is totally different. It was expounded by Sankhya Muni, Kapila Muni. It is a totally different philosophy, and it is a very in-depth philosophy. Whenever if we study Yoga Darshana, another great Darshana, we will study part of Sankhya also, because they are intertwined. They complement each other. So without Sankhya, there is no Yoga Darshana. Without Yoga Darshana, there is no Sankhya Darshana. So that should not be confused with this Sankhya Yoga. Here Sankhya means it is knowledge, wisdom. Sankhya literally means numbers, akada. Okay, but here it is, a meaning is wisdom. knowledge. The knowledge yoga is the subject matter of second chapter. So Sanjaya Uvacha. Sanjaya said. What he said? Madhusudanaha. Krishna. Madhusudana is the name of Krishna. Tata. Thus. Kripaya Vishtam. Avishtam. Kripaya Avishtam. Overwhelmed by compassion. Who? Arjuna. Overwhelmed by compassion. Because he was under the spell of Shoka and Moha. Ashrupurna Akulakshanam. His eyes were filled with tears and showed distress. He was not crying because he was a great warrior, a Kshatriya, so he cannot just sit and cry like a baby in the war field. But his eyes were filled with tears. He was at the verge of crying. He was deeply overcome by sorrow. Visidantam was very, very sad. Tam, to him, idam, this vakyam, sentence, vacha, said, spoke. So Sanjaya said to him, to Arjuna, who was thus sad and overwhelmed by compassion, whose eyes were filled with tears and showed distress, Madhusudana Krishna spoke these words. So we should remember that this is a conversation dialogue between Sanjaya and Dhritarashtra, and the dialogue between Arjuna and Krishna is a dialogue within that dialogue. Okay? So we should always remember that till the end, it is Sanjaya narrating because he is the advisor, chief advisor, national security advisor. He is a prime minister to this fellow, great king Dhritarashtra. Because he was blind, he was commentating. He was acting as a commentator. Okay, to Dhritarashtra. That we should always remember. This is the first time Bhagavan is going to open his mouth and talk. So far, he was only listening to the miseries of or blabberings or pourings of Arjuna. He didn't say anything. He let him pour out everything. Now he has completed his outpour. He just spent force now, Arjuna. He just sat down, he's become silent. Now Bhagavan decided this is the time for me to open my mouth and talk. That will start from the second verse, which we will do in the next class. Any questions? You may please ask. Otherwise, we will say prayers and close. Already we are also at the time. No questions? Okay. Om Sarve
Bhavantu
Ina
Sukhi
Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhavantu
पश्यन्तु
Ma
भगवते
Kashyapave Asatu Ma Maya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityormamritgamaya Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamyeva Vashishyate Om Shanti Hari Bo Shri Gurubhyo Namah Hari Bo Om Tat Sat. Thank you all of you.
Thank you, Acharya ji.
Thank you,
Acharya ji.
Acharya ji.
Thank you.
Thank you, Acharya ji.
Thank you all.